boys and girls, it's me Butch. My name is Terry David Silvercloud. I'm not native, it just sounds that way. I'm 78 years old. Today is Wednesday the 7th of June 2023, getting on around 9 p.m. down here at English Bay in Vancouver. I'm testing out my Q2N equipment and trying to do something useful while I'm at it. So the question today is, do Shriners go to hell? Now, I know a lot of you want to get out of here in a hurry and want the quick answer. So the question is only of any importance at all, of any importance, to Roman Catholics and the Roman Catholic Church. All other faiths, every faith, with the exception of the Roman Catholic Church, they don't care what the Shriners do. They know they do good works and raise money for burn hospitals for kids and sick kids and stuff like that. So the only religion that gives a crap about Freemasons, and Shriners are Freemasons, they're at least 32nd degree Freemasons. All Shriners are Freemasons, but not all Freemasons are Shriners. You have to be at least a 32nd degree Freemason to become a Shriner. So the rule applies only to the Roman Catholic Church, and it came into force around the year 1738, and it was amended in 1983 by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who went on to become Benedict XVI in 1983. So up until 1983 it said, yes, Shriners, well, it said Freemasons are going to hell, basically. I've said it in a few more words than that, but you're going to hell, all you. So in 1983, Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, when he was head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, which is a fancy modern name for the Inquisition, they updated their rules, and one of the rules was on Freemasonry. And I don't recall the exact wording, but generally it says that those that partake of Freemasonry or preach Freemasonry or get involved, as it were, are to be denied the sacraments. They cannot partake of communion. So that's a polite way of saying you're going to hell. So can a Roman Catholic be a Freemason? Yes, he can. But that Roman Catholic will have to realize that he now is no longer condemned to hell. He's condemned to purgatory for, I don't understand exactly what the rules are, but they have their levels of hell. The Roman Catholics took over God back in the year 385, the Council of Nicaea, and since then a whole bunch of churches broke away from them. But it all started with the Roman Catholics back in 385. So you can get out of here now. As far as the Roman Catholic Church goes, Shriners are going to purgatory. They no longer go to hell. Other churches don't give a crap. And for those of you who want to know a few things, hang in and I'll explain what the big argument is between the Roman Catholic Church and the Freemasons. It all goes back to Friday, October the 13th, 1307 in northern France. King Philip IV was the king, and Clement V was the Pope. There had been 3 previous popes when Philip IV came to power, but Philip didn't like them, and everybody knew he arranged for them to eat some bad food, and they all croaked, and Philip finally picked a pope who he thought would do his bidding, and he became Clement V. So back in 1307, Clement V is the Pope, and Philip IV in northern France. There was 2 Frances, and he was king, and he was broke after his dad died. They'd been fighting England since like forever. He had no money, and one time when he sought refuge in the Paris temple with the Templars, they didn't like him either, so they threw him naked on the street. So that gives you an idea how powerful the Templars were, that they could throw the king on the street and not worry about it. You don't mess with Templars. So who were the Templars? The Templars were basically a private institution, basically. The poor, they were given a rule by a pope back in the 12th century, and their official title was the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Jesus Christ, and they had a red cross on their shields. So they were the Knights Templar, and they were allowed to cross borders bearing arms. They were allowed to trade money, and they were the de facto bankers in France at that time. If you wanted to deposit money, you could go deposit it with the Templars, and they'd probably even pay you interest on it. And they'd hand you a note with some scribbling on it. Oops, didn't make much sense. And they used the numbers you and I use, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are from India, called Arabic numbers. The Templars knew all about them, and they used them in their banknotes. And if you wanted to transfer money, they just give you a note, and you just give the note to a temple in a different city you went to and cash in your note, just like modern banking. So the Templars, they were the bankers, and they were rich, and they were the spies. They had a naval fleet of 200 ships. Have I covered the Templars? Where am I going with all this? So Philip IV decided that he would, on Friday, October the 13th, arrest all the Templars in Paris and northern France. He thought he was doing it secretly on the evening of Friday, October the 13th. And when they opened the temple doors, it was empty. The knights were gone, and so was all the money. And the only people left were very old knights in their 50s and 60s and 70s, very old. And all the young knights and everything associated with them are gone. It is reported that shortly after that, the 200-ship navy of the Templars, which had all been in port, you can check this out, in Saint Michel in southern France, the day before the 13th, they disappeared. They just vanished, like as in forever. But shortly after that, some ships of no flag showed up in the Firth of Forth in Scotland, and Robert the Bruce is said to have given them shelter. That's all we know about that matter. Another matter we know something about was at the Battle of Bannockburn, when the Scots whooped the Brits' butts, being outnumbered 30-1. The Scots somehow had mounted knights fighting for them, and that's sort of like, what's that all about? Do you get my drift? So the Templars basically in northern France, they disappeared. In England, the guardian of the young king was a Templar, and they would have both eventually be murdered, both the king and the knight who was his guardian. That's another story for England. But Templars, generally speaking, went underground beginning in Friday, October the 13th. Now, Philip, he was mightily ticked off, and he tried torturing the old knights to find out, where's the money? Show me the money. And they weren't talking. And Clement V back in Rome, he got word of this, and he said, he got word back to Philip like, why are you messing with my boys, and why aren't you having a proper inquisition, and those are my boys you're messing with. You can't do that. And so Philip gave in, and they started inquisition, and by 1310 nothing much had happened. So to get rid of most of the witnesses, Philip had 54 of these old men tied in stakes closely together and burned them all alive at the stake in one big bonfire in 1310. Still, they had the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, and he wasn't talking. So in March of 1314, I'm gonna get dinged for copyright infringement now, because somebody just turned on some music in the background. The king had enough of it all. He said, okay, well, why don't you just fess up to being, worshiping the devil and being homosexual, and we'll let you off with some sort of lighter sentence. You're going to die soon anyway. And on March 18th, Jacques de Molay got up on the steps. Word went out, hear ye, hear the Grand Master, confess his sins, come one, come all. And so Jacques Molay stood up on the steps of Notre Dame, and instead of confessing his sin, he accused the Pope and the King who were standing there with him of being agents of the devil, and everything they said was a pack of lies. And this went over like a lead balloon with the King. So the next morning, with the king and Pope Clement in attendance down below Notre Dame, down by the river. They had a big bonfire down to nice hot coals, and they tied Jacques Molay to a grill. Apparently he asked for his hands to be free so he could pray to God while he was dying. That's the story that's going down. The sun's going down, by the way. It's right on the horizon here. So anyhow, Jacques de Molay asked if his hands could be freed, and he was burned alive. And after everybody went away, the monks reportedly recovered Jacques de Molay's skull and his thigh bones, and that is the skull and bones. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. The Freemasons basically went underground from there on in. And in England, the only Roman Catholic chapel to survive is Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. And it was, and still is, revered by Freemasons of being of great importance. Rosslyn Chapel, you can look us up, in Scotland. It is believed the Freemasons knew all about North America, and they probably went to the West Indies with their fleet. And the Jolly Roger, the Skull and Bones, was their grandchildren cashing in on the gold being stolen from the Americans by the Spanish. Did I cover it all? Probably not, but I did go on and on. So no, the Shriners don't go to hell anymore, they just go to purgatory, and it's only I try to give you some idea of the war which still to this very day is going on between the Freemasons and the Roman Catholic Church. It's a war. Seriously, it is. You don't have to believe me. What do I know? I'm 78. He's going to be dead soon anyway. So Butch said, there's a mouthful. Butch says, bye-bye from Butch.